you all for coming today to celebrate your relationship with Bill, celebrate those memories. And he was a great father, spouse, friend, and a co-worker. He was a true lover of nature and humanity. I said, he's also a friend. And I once asked Bill, you know, he had so many friends, so many are gathered here today. I said, how do you make everyone feel so special, Bill? He said, because they are special. I still remember Bill's laughter at work, echoing down the halls from the charting area. The Thursday mornings that we spent laughing before IDT started. His quick wit and ability to help us laugh at ourselves. His compassion and the ability to see in people what was left unsaid. Many of us remember Bill's photos of the deer in the backyard, the quail that linger by the fountain. He loved his bees, and he loved the garden. I still remember Bill starting the tomato plants and bringing them to work and giving them away to his coworkers. And Bailey, Bill's dog, we've seen up here on the screen several pictures of Bailey. And actually Bailey was able to come visit Bill in hospice house. Yes, we remember Bill. His true love for family, friends, nature, and humanity. Also, when I think of Bill, I think of a portion of the prayer that's attributed to St. Francis. It says, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is discord, harmony. Where there is error, truth. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Many of us shared these last few months, these last few years with Bill as he dealt with his illness courageously. And he was real. Remember our conversations with Bill and just being real about life and the struggles and also the sense of gratitude. I'll share some words that Bill posted one time. He said, throughout this process, I'm learning how truly blessed I am. I'm surrounded by more love than imaginable. And then he went on to say, he had a quote from Mark Nepo, says, there is no greater or simpler ambition than to be a friend. And Bill was a friend to so many. I'd like to invite his sister Sue up here, and she'll share some memories, some stories, and some of Bill's other siblings will come and share some memories and stories. And then afterwards, we'll share some memories and stories from each of us.
Down, because I know I'm probably going to cry anyway. Bill, the cancer journey is a very solitary one, despite the support of loving friends and family. Bill and I were able to establish a rare and special relationship that allowed us to travel that journey together. Both of us knowing, without having to speak the words, the feelings, the pain, the losses we were both experiencing during our respective battles. But I want to focus more on how cancer made both Bill and I better people. Cancer can not only be a life-ending disease, but a transformative one. It resets priorities and forces new life perspectives. Bill and I touched on numerous topics over the last several years, and I want to share a few of the things we learned. Life goes from black and white to HD and surround sound once you have cancer. Become so much more aware, especially of the beauty of nature, exemplified by Bill's increased zeal for gardening, beekeeping, and appreciation for the outdoors. There's a deepening of compassion for others and a clearer recognition that the biggest gift you can give someone is to be truly present for them. Bill honed this skill so well over the past several years. When I was hospitalized for my last cancer, Bill hopped on a plane, no questions asked, and arrived in Arizona, not only for me, but to be present for my husband in his distress. Of course, to deal with cancer in a positive way, you have to have a sense of humor. And boy, did Bill have that in spades before even his first cancer, and was able to have some more material. Gratitude for the simplest things is amplified, and how Bill loved to even walk Bailey in the open space, just as an example of that. I was blessed to have Bill walk with me during my journey, and I was blessed to walk with him in his, and will miss all of his wonderful gifts. And I want to end with Bill's and my mantra, which we shared throughout our cancer, from Michael Franti. Hey, 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 no matter how life is today, there's just one thing I gotta say. I won't let another moment slip away. And I love Bill.
Everyone, thank you for coming. I'm overwhelmed. I was supposed to be the lighter part. Nice job. I'm the youngest of the Baker siblings. My name's Tim, Bill's brother. Bill played a significant role in my life. Our father passed at the same age as Bill of cancer as well. And Bill stepped up more than as a brother, but as a mentor, as a father figure. I was blessed with a lot of people in my family to help. I had a lot of leaders. I had my sister Sue, accomplished physician, cancer survivor. Robin, passionate hospice RN, and unbelievable in the kitchen. If you didn't have the chili last night, you missed out. But Tom, Brandon Braun, scholar and athlete, and also a car accident survivor and really an inspiration to all of us. And Bill, let's face it, he had a lot of levels. He was a comedian, he was a troublemaker, he was a hospice social worker, and unofficially the family counselor, which I'm going to talk a little bit about in a few minutes. So Bill the comedian, let's lighten it up a little bit here because it's pretty heavy. I'm not going to start going waterworks here, but he was born the Joker and the public menace, right? How many in the room? Right? You know, it started out, probably the first example wasn't here, but this is the first documented example that we can speak to as a family. Bill in first grade thought it'd be a great idea to go and put thumbtacks on all of the kids and the teacher's seat. Hilarious, right? However, Bill didn't think it all the way through, because what he ended up doing is there was one seat that didn't have the thumbtack on it. That was the kid that did it, right? He got caught. He also did wicked, terrible things. He wasn't such a great person, everyone, okay? I'm here to tell you the reality. He hung me by my underwear off my bedpost. Who does that? Who does that? This is wrong. Luckily, finally the bedpost gave way. I fell down in my own freedom. Nothing else fell off other than the bedpost. Still thankful for that for today. He also had a very twisted, sinister sense of humor. And that was, I think, yeah, Tom knows. You were probably a part of this one as well, actually. But Tom and I and Bill lived together in the house that Robin now lives in Firetown Road in Simsbury. And I was kind of in the early stages of dating this girl, and I came home a little enthusiastic, and I go, Bill, hey, did so-and-so call? And he goes, yeah, she called. And I'm like, well, what's going on? We still on for tonight? And he goes, well, I have to tell you. Interesting call. She thought that you were me, so I kind of played along for a little bit. And I'm like, what do you mean you played along for a little bit? And then in only Bill's sinister smile way, he kind of looked over and he goes, well, I played along and I said, you know, I'm not really up for going out tonight, so I think we're off. And I was like, what? And of course, you know, Bill couldn't stop laughing. So that's a little bit about what Bill is all about. But let me tell you about a story where it kind of came back on Bill. Bill used to like to party, right? He used to like to have a few beers. No one knows that story? Well, Bill used to work at the Chart House, and he had a group of people that were really good friends with him, and he went out one night. Sammy, are you in the room? Cover your ears on how late he stayed out. It was about 6 o'clock in the morning. Finally, my father rolled up. My brother pulls out of the house where the party was going on. And those who have not met my father, he was born in New York. He went to Xavier Military High School. He was a repo man in Harlem. He was a pretty intimidating guy. So Bill walks out, and there's these high beams aiming at Bill. And Bill looks over, and I'm sure we got a bit of a mixed crowd, so be careful about how I describe this. But he said, "Hey, buddy, turn down your effing high beams, Mister." It wasn't Mister. It was something else. On the other end, behind the lights, was my dad's deep voice. "Get in the car, Bill." Very quiet ride to the Simsbury Police Department. "Dad, why are we stopping here?" "I'm going to tell them that you're still alive, for now." That was a little bit of the kind of trouble he would get into. And then he came home, and my mom said, "You son of a gun." And Bill said, "Hey, quit sucking up to me. I'm tired. I'm going to bed." I never had to thank him for that, because for about 3 weeks, none of us could do anything wrong, and things were pretty quiet for the rest of us. But Bill was also an amazing guy as far as a social worker, as far as a friend, and he really taught me a lot about relationships and what's important in life. And I'm going to jump ahead to just a story that I think talks a little bit about Bill. And it's a story that probably many of you have heard, but so a meteorology professor stood before his meteorology 101 class and had some items in front of him. When the class began, wordlessly he picked up a very large and empty mayonnaise jar and proceeded to fill it with golf balls. He then asked the students if the jar was full. They agreed that it was. The professor then picked up a box of sand and poured it in the jar. Of course, the sand, sorry, I jumped ahead. The professor picked up a jar of pebbles and poured them into the jar. He shook the jar lightly. The pebbles, of course, rolled into the open spaces between the golf balls. He then asked the students again if the jar was full. They agreed it was. The professor picked up a box of sand, poured it in the jar, and of course the sand filled up everything else. He asked once again if the jar was full. The students responded with a unanimous yes. The professor then produced 2 cans of beer, go figure, from the table and proceeded to pour the entire contents into the jar, effectively filling the empty spaces between the grains of sand. The students all laughed. "Now," said the professor, as the laughter subsided, "I want you to recognize that this jar represents your life. The golf balls are the important things, the things that were important to Bill. Your family, your partner, your health, your children, your friends, your favorite passions. Things that everything else was lost, and the only remainder of life would still be full. The pebbles are the other things that matter, like your job, your house, your car. The sand is everything else, the small stuff. If you put the sand into the jar first," he continued, "there's no room for the pebbles or the golf balls. The same goes for your life. If you spend all of your time and energy on the small stuff, you'll never have room for the things that are important to you. Pay attention to things that are critical to your happiness. Play with your children, time to get medical checkups, take your partner out to dinner, play another 18, or have another beer at Crux. There will always be time to do work, clean the house, give a dinner party, and fix the disposal. Take care of the golf balls first, the things that really matter. Set your priorities, the rest is just sand." One of the students raised their hand and inquired what the beer represented. The professor smiled and said, "I'm glad you asked. It goes to show you that no matter how full your life may seem, there's always room for a couple beers with a friend." I think Bill always had time to have a couple beers every time I came out here. I don't know, it was weird. But anyway, I just wanted to share that. I think Bill, again, as a father figure, is a really good friend of me, taught me about love. And I hope that he's taught you, as he has me, that love more than you thought you ever could. And Bill, thanks for your support, your love, and your friendship. Thank you.
chew gum and walk at the same time. Bear with me while we're sharing devices here. Alright, so that's a hard act to follow. They kind of like covered most of Bill. But I really wanted to kind of talk about, when I think of my brother Bill, I think of one word primarily, and that's connections. I think there's a theme that we're all seeing today, is that his ability to connect with everybody. And it was a gift that you could be in his presence and he would make you feel like you were the only one in the room and the only one that mattered. And he had that ability to do that throughout his life with each interactions, every single time, with a sense of humor and an ability to make you just feel at ease. His connections with his family were remarkable. I mean, first with his wife and his daughter. He'd always say, we'd be in the middle. We used to love to spend Sundays kind of together when Sue was working, and we'd FaceTime, we'd put the computer up, and we'd be cooking together, he'd be ironing. And he'd always be talking about his bride and his girls, which was Sammy, Bailey, and Sue. His passion for his family was just overwhelmingly beautiful to me. His commitment to his relationship with them, and knowing that he will be with them forever, was really, really moving. And yet, as Tim also touched on, I mean, life isn't full, nobody's perfect. I mean, he was able to say marriage took work, fatherhood took work. It had its ups and downs. It was a roller coaster ride at times. But his number one priority in life were his girls. Then his commitment to us as siblings. You know, there were 5 of us. We had a lot of foster kids. We were across the country. We were a typical Irish Catholic family with some of our trials and tribulations, and he was born the social worker, born the one to bring us all together. And he worked really, really hard at that, with, once again, a sense of humor and the ability to try to get all of us to understand that we're all individuals, we all bring something to this family unit, and to do it in a non-judgmental way. And I really admired him for that. I mean, he really taught me. We both shared a lot of the whole Buddhist philosophy to life over the last 15 or 20 years, and had many, many conversations on that. To be in the moment, to cherish that connection and that interaction, to know that change starts with us. And he did exemplify that almost every single day. Not always. He was human, which was great, because then he made to realize that, okay, we all are a continual work in progress. His friends. I was just always taken aback by his ability to connect with everybody. Whether it was somebody at Whole Foods, first time I came out to Bend about 3 years ago, we were going through the line at Whole Foods. Hey, Bill Baker, how are you doing? I mean, and his eye contact and his energy and his presence with each person he interacted and introduced me to just blew me away. And he lived that constantly. He shared so many memories about his friends. Seamus, I know Seamus, I'm going to guilt him into talking later, because I finally met him for the first time last night, but I feel like I know him like a brother. I know what his relationship meant to Bill and his friendship, but I know what all of you meant to Bill, and he shared that. I know Chaplain Randall showed a bit of a quote that he had pasted on Facebook, and I only joined Facebook when Bill was diagnosed as terminal as a way to share pictures, and he was tired of emailing me pictures, so he's like, what the heck? But to begin to see how he used social media in an ever so beautiful and delicate way to share his journey, not only to reap the benefits, the support of all of you, but also kind of to mentor us. And I thought that was amazing. On April 1st, to see my dog jump from her position when I say, walk, Bailey? God, I love life. 2 weeks before he died, we were talking, and he goes, Rob, you know, people keep saying, how are you doing? And he goes, you know, it's easy to live. I love to live. And it was 2 weeks before he passed away, and he still had that exuberance for every single second that we live. Every piece of air that we breathe, there's some joy and there's some wonder in that. And that was a phenomenal lesson. On October 8th, he writes, throughout this process, I am learning how truly blessed I am. I am surrounded by more love than imaginable. So I want to thank you guys for being there for him. I was in Connecticut, so it was a little bit hard. But it was incredibly comforting for me to know that he had his family and he had his other family. And I thank you for that. And then he had his work family. Both being in hospice, it was a calling that we had. I started it 20 years ago. Bill came when he came to Bend, and I knew he was made to be a hospice social worker. He had a gift. He had the intuitive ability to connect with clients in a way that made them feel valued and whole, to be able to help them express their feelings at end of life and to be there for families to support them through this challenging journey, as we all know, as it is. He had an incredible sense of humor that he would share with his clients that made them feel real and valued and that living in the moment. So many of our clients would express to us that we feel that they felt that people were afraid to live around them. They were afraid to express the normalcy of their life. And that's what they wanted to be. They want to know that life goes on. They want to know that every day's experience and every day's sounds and that your child's at the softball game. They wanted to be a part of the living. And I think Bill was able to bring that to them and help families bring that together. And then as his journey changed, the year that he was diagnosed terminally, he took me through a tour through his hospice house, which we don't have any of those in Connecticut, and he was so proud of it. And as we walked through the gardens and we walked through that building, he said to me, you know, if I come here, I'm okay with that. It would be really great because I love these people and they know they love me. So that was another thing that was incredibly comforting to me, because then I know his wife and daughter could be the wife and daughter. And that he would have his third family there to be there to care for him and support him and be with him. So I thank you all for that. And I know you've had a lot of memories and a lot of jokes with him and a lot of time with him, and probably have a lot of stories that you could share too. Great hospice team. And I often wondered, and we had talked a couple of times, how do you cope with all of this? You know, the last summer that we were here, we had a couple conversations, me being the hospice nurse and him being the hospice social worker, so that was rather a crazy dynamic. And he said, Rob, you know, he had significant asthma. I don't know if you guys know that, but he was a really bad asthmatic. And he said, I spent my whole childhood sick. So he had a very high tolerance for pain, and he had a real clear awareness of what it was to live every day. One summer when this was all going on, and Sue and Bill and I were kind of talking, and both Sue and Bill shared with me, they're like, you know, we never, even before he got a cancer diagnosis, he goes, we never thought we were going to grow old together. I mean, that's like, wow, that's before we all knew about this cancer gene. But with knowing that, they have lived their lives. So there's like nothing to come away from today. I'm also as a teacher, so this is what I tend to like, gotta pass the lesson, the Bill Baker lesson, is to live your life. Live that journey. Go out there and have the passion that he has. You know, every single moment, because you don't know if you're gonna have it tomorrow. And here he and his wife kind of recognize that on a certain level, so they didn't keep putting off things. Like we see so many of my patients at the end of their life, I wish, the regrets, I should have, that really can haunt you your whole life. So when I think about how he coped, and he had this experience, and he knew how to deal with not being well, I had come across this one article, and I won't read all to it, but it talks about resilience, and this has been like a key word that has really meant a lot to me in the past couple of years. I use it with my staff, my children, is resilient people, absolutely amazing. And how do you build resilience, and what is resilience? So this article talks about the 5 characteristics of incredibly resilient people, and it had Bill written all over him. It says, 1, they practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is the art of paying attention to your life on purpose. Mindful people monitor the thoughts that come through them. However, instead of reacting to the negative thoughts, they observe them like a storm that is passing through. Furthermore, they pay attention to what is right in their lives. They give it strength and value, thereby turning up the volume on the beauty that surrounds them. They understand the role in the universal flow of life. They realize they are a part of the divine cycle of life and death. And in this understanding, they remain like the eye at the center of a tornado. The world will continue to change around them, but at the center of this tornado is their mind, where there is tranquility and calm. The second point is they don't compare themselves to others. Most of the time he did this. He got to a point as he got older, and really, they don't spend their time feeling sorry for themselves, which he never did. He never once in all our conversations said, why me? He took this diagnosis as an ability to examine his life to mentor other people, to enjoy it, and embrace those connections. They realize that every soul has a different journey, and therefore it's pointless to compare the path of your life with someone else. They are continually trying to be the new, improved version of themselves, and as long as they are better than they were yesterday, they know they are on the right path. They are their own measuring stick of success. The third is they understand that every big setback is even a bigger transformation. Resilient people understand this. They see difficulties as a stepping stone to transformation. And I think those of you who know him since Ben, with all his different diagnoses and all that have gone on, can see that with every single step, he learned something from it, he grew from something from it, and his humor got even more honed from it. And of course, number 4, which he mastered, was they find humor in everything. He had the sickest sense of humor of anybody I know. And we would share, we call it hospice humor in my department, and we had to be careful sometimes that we're not heard outside our own interdisciplinary team because other people might be a little pulled off, put off by it, especially our hospice plants, and you can imagine what they look like. And then 5, they do not try to control their life. And Bill knew, I think he had this intuitive sense from a very young age that he had no control. That his life was going to take a journey, and he wasn't going to be able, and it wasn't going to be a real long one. So by God, he was going to live it, and he was going to share it with the people that he loved. So to kind of bring this all kind of together are 2 things. One, there is a poem, I guess, written from Ralph Waldo Emerson on success, and it defines success, which I think Bill is one of the most successful human beings I know. I found this probably about 25 years ago. I have it posted right in front of me on my desk every single day. So when you deal with those challenges that we all deal with, family, friends, and work, it gives me strength to go on. And it says to laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a better place, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, a redeemed social condition, to know even one life is breathed easier because you have lived. This is to succeed. And if there's one lesson I think Bill has to teach us, and that is that. And in ending, I had to share this because I get the biggest kick out of this. And Aaron, I thank you for this one. Aaron? And the Facebook page that you shared with us, one of your last meetings with Bill, they held your hand, and he said to you, just so you know, if I figure out a way to haunt you, you are totally screwed. And after doing hospice work for 20 years, I know in my heart, whether you believe in God, nature, energy, or whatever, that spirit is out there. I'm confident Bill will haunt us with his spirit. It's too strong, and the lessons he has taught us about living have been transformative. And the last real impromptu, now mind you, I didn't write all this out because that's just me. Last night we had a party. We got everybody together. I did cook. I love to cook. It's kind of my thing, the family. That's kind of like I care for everybody. And it also keeps me out of the limelight, and I get to be quiet and kind of away. But after we had this whole party, and I'm also doing the cleaning, mind you, because that's also therapeutic, guys. So I got the garbage all together, and I was going to take it out the backyard to throw it out there, and there's this deer sitting, not standing, sitting no more than 6 feet away from me. And it's just looking at me.
It says, where's the beer?
And for those of you who understand that, I believe that was Bill going, yeah, where the hell is the beer? And why, I'm at this party one way or another. So I think he will be with us in spirit forever. And I know he's definitely there for you, Sue. And for any of us who are open to that. So thank you. I know I'm making up for all the words I didn't say last night, tonight. So thank you very much. And Sue, I'll turn it over to you.
not going to say very much because I can't follow that. But I just want to say thank you so much to everybody, not only everybody that's here, but to family and friends everywhere, near and far, people that could be here, people that couldn't be here. And I just want to thank everybody for all the love, support and caring that you've given Bill and myself and Sammy and Bailey. And that love each other, because this is an incredible town. We have incredible friends that we're surrounded by. And I just thank you, embrace you all. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a nice evening. Enjoy.
Yes, we all love Bill. We still love him. So we're going to have a time to share some stories, some memories, be some tears, or be some laughter. So if you'd like to come up to the front, I'll take the microphone down where you can speak to it and share some stories. Then after we're done sharing some stories, we'll have a blessing and then we'll drink beer.
Okay. So much to say, so little time. Okay. Bill is here. I can feel him. And no, he's really here. He's on the table, sitting over there. And everyone should touch him on the way out. He may be a little warm because he made the ride over here on my lap. So I think I got the last laugh. So I thought I got the last laugh with, getting the final spoon with him. But already, whenever I'm a date, it burns when I pee. Just kidding. I had the great fortune, or misfortune, as you may choose to say, of being able to take a trip to Ireland off Bill's bucket list. We were very bad for a whole week. A couple of points of interest would be that we opened a pub at 11 a.m. and closed a pub at 2 a.m. 50 miles away. The middle part of that day is a little grey for me. But it finished up in my sister's house up on the coast. This is mildly PG. And we come back after having a great evening of Irish music. I went back to my sister's house and sat in front of the fire and had whiskey. And Bill had one whiskey and said, "This is enough." And at that point, my sister went to get water for everyone. And Bill went to bed. My sister, being the great hostess that she is, decided that it would be smart to put a pint of water at everyone's bedside, and she happened to coincide that with Bill dropping his trousers in the bedroom, at which point there was a scream, and a lot of embarrassment. My sister, who's very, very straight-laced, at the breakfast table the next day, Bill said, "Look, if you had given me warning 3 knocks, and I'll be ready for you next time." He even offered to do his famous helicopter routine, whatever that is. Bill and Sue were my neighbors for 6 years in Phoenix, Arizona. And I wore a path to Bill's house. I have no idea how my liver is still functioning, to be honest. Bill's probably... Okay, We'll skip that. Bill is probably the only man outside my family that I've said that I loved and meant it. So, God, could you moonwalk, Tim?
Yeah.
Thank you for lifting that.
You told us to walk us. He didn't mean it, you liar.
Is this off again? Is it off?
You've been cut off, Seamus.
I've been cut off. Okay.
You might have turned it off. Better.
So, but I do, and I said, in all seriousness, I love that man, and I think we all do. He's touched us in so many ways, small and large, and for me it was very large. He's introduced me to beekeeping, drinking copious amounts.
I like the you are.
But one thing, this is going off again. Not
Yeah,
worry.
we're done on batteries.
One thing that so one thing about Bill is that Bill and Sue are synonymous together for me. They are one. They were a couple that I always looked up to.
And look out for him.
Bill gave me the okay last week in a FaceTime conversation to spend the rest of my life giving Sue shit. And I just want to give the man what he wants. So, the Belfast and the Ireland trip was absolutely exceptional for me. And I left that trip, and to be honest, I don't care whether Bill had a good time, because I had a blast. He is the best company. And in fact, I'm going to briefly read what my brother said about him. Said that whenever we heard of Bill's passing, you spread the word. And I told him it was great that he had his family and his dog and the room that he liked in hospice. He had everything in place. The man had his I's dotted and his T's crossed. Having his family around him was good, but it doesn't mean he will be missed any less. We definitely had a great charge at it when he was here. It was the perfect storm of piss-ups. He was a cracking fella, a pure gent, and a funny fecker all rolled into one. We are gutted he's gone. To listen to all these things that people are saying about Bill today, you'd think he was perfect. And that everyone loved him. I have a friend that hated Bill. And I have a friend that Bill hated. So much so that at a party at my house one day on 14th Street in Phoenix, Bill got up and said, "Fuck this, I'm going home. I'm going home. I've had enough." Marvin barked at Bill for 6 years. My dog hated Bill with a passion. And honestly, every time he moved, he barked at Bill. He loved everyone else. I think my dog Marvin is a great judgment of character person. He's great. So there's a side to Bill that nobody here knows. I don't think that I could have had as good a friendship with Bill if it wasn't for Sue. The fact that she's English gave Bill and I much fodder for mocking her. And she has no recourse because she's English.
That's what Bob Bill said.
Bill Baker will be missed by me. I will reminisce often. I will miss him, but I'm glad he is where he is. So if everyone could put a glass in their hand, and if we could all say that we're going to live life like Bill Baker. Here's to you, Bill.
Good job, Seamus.
Good job.
Thank you. So, some other memories, some stories, somebody would like to share. Anyone have a story or favorite memory they'd like to share about Bill? That, huh?
Need more beer.
Need more beer. Okay. Oh, okay.
I forgot to tell you, I might have got a little closer to Bill Baker than what was, more comfortable, because I did swim with him in the Gulf of Mexico naked one night. That's just to give you an idea, okay? The rest is definitely PG.
So I'll share a few stories. We have someone else to share some stories. Okay.
My name is Brent, Bill's immediate neighbor, and I've never been touched so much by someone like Bill in my life. And there's a gentleman by the name of Bill Shakespeare that said, "Cowards die many times before their death. The valiant never tastes of death but once. Of all the wonders that I have yet seen, it seems to me most strange that death will come when it will come." Bill embraced it, and I admire him so much for that. On a counterpoint, I will comment that Bill, his intelligence just absolutely overwhelmed me. But every time I put a tool in his hands, he absolutely fell apart and made me feel like a god. And I'll never forget Bill, Sue, Sammy, and we're still trying to kidnap their dog Bailey. We love you, Bill. Bless you.
I'm Robert, and I'm a friend of Bill's that met him in Phoenix through my brother. And then when he moved to Bend, we became closer, got together quite often, and I'm gonna terribly miss all of our conversations about music, politics, beer, and all of the above. And one thing that Bill shared with me when, shortly after he moved here, and it wasn't in a self-pitying mode, but just in his honesty about where he was and finding out about, his cancer genetics, is that he had X of a percent to live this many years. And having said that, and then getting to know Bill better and getting together with him quite often, I realized that he took that as a message to himself to not to come to Bend or start this new chapter in his life in dying, but in living life to its fullest. And I want to thank Bill, and whatever energy of his is out there, thank him so much in that message of how not to die, but how to live. And I also want to thank him for allowing me and my family to get to meet so many of his awesome family and friends and all of these people in the room. So thank you, Bill, and cheers.
My name is Marshall, and to follow up on Tim's kind of metaphor, Bill filled the room with golf balls. I mean, that's the kind of person he was. He made those connections with people.
Pardon me, I have a speech problem. The past year or so, Bill has struck up a friendship with the artist Michael Franti. And there's one line that really struck me was, "I'm sorry we lost you, but I'm happy we had you."
Friend of Bill's for a few years now. Short but sweet, relatively. Follow up on Tom's theme, the Franti concert that Bill introduced. Franti is a year ago summer, I believe it was. And he introduced Franti and walked out on stage and said, I think it was pretty much the gist of it was, when my spiritual cup is empty, I listen to Franti and he fills it up. So I asked Bill after, I said, wow, I said, how'd that work? You'd been backstage with him, and did you know you were going to do that? And he's like, no, I didn't know. It's sort of spur of the moment. I said, were you nervous? No, I wasn't nervous. Just went out there and just spoke from my heart, short but sweet. I'm cool. And so to Bill, I would say someone who, one of our passions that we shared and had some of the best times together were brewing together, something that he coaxed me into doing reluctantly a bit. But shared his passions as he often does with people, open-heartedly, and he coached me through the whole thing and made me a really good brewer, as he was. Thanks to him now, whenever my beer cup is empty, I can easily fill it up. And to Bill Baker, like as he says, our last word together, please raise a pint. We love you.
My name's Gary. I'm an RN, formerly with Partners in Care. I worked with Bill for 5 years, and I want to address two things: his comic side and his warrior side. Bill and I both had kidney cancer and both lost our kidneys. And he found a way through my struggles that he and I connected, and actually to use his humor to make light of losing your kidney, which isn't a funny thing, but Bill and I got through it really well, and we'd joke about it. And this new nurse showed up, Drew Pade, at work, and Bill and I were in the back room charting. We used to kind of goof off a lot, Bill and I. I've got a pretty good sense of humor, and so does Bill. So Drew came in, and Bill said, "You're the new guy." Drew said, "Yeah." "Well, how you doing? Welcome." Drew said, "Thanks." Bill said, "How's your kidney function?" And Drew said, "Fine, I think. What do you mean?" Well, Gary and I both lost kidneys to cancer from Partners in Care. It's a tough place to work. And Drew didn't know what to do, and Bill and I were howling. I lost my left and he lost his right, and we were saying we were bookends, and together we made a whole guy. And I've had 2 other cancer surgeries, so I'm a 3-time winner. And through my struggles, I'm a home health nurse, and Bill was hospice. And I have a fear and struggle with death, and I don't like the topic. I'm home health, I'm rainbows, I'm sunshine. I don't like that dark side. And so I live like that, and I will go when it's my time kicking and screaming, not pleasantly or any graceful way. And there was an honor benefit here in this building several months ago for Bill. And it was crowded like this, and I was watching Bill. After a couple hours, he kind of settled down. He was off to his side, and I said, "Can I do anything for you?" He said, "Yeah, I'd like a beer." Okay, so I got him a beer. We sat down, and I said, this is to address his warrior side, "How do you do it? I've been through a lot, you've been through a lot. How do you face it the way that you do so gallantly?" And he said, "What's the problem?" I said, "Well, with death." He said, "What's the problem with that?" He said, "Do you think you're not going to die?" I said, "No, I'm going to die. I got that part. But I'm not willingly going to die." And he said, "But you're going to die. You accept that?" I said, "Yeah, I accept that part. I got that part." He said, "Well, if you die at 90 or if you die at 65, you've lost a few years, but you're still going to die." I said, "Yeah. Okay, so you lose some experiences, some years, so you're still going to die." And he said, "Are you afraid to die?" I said, "Yeah, I think so. I think I am." He said, "I'm not. I'm not afraid to die." And his message to me was, "And I'm not afraid to live." We love Bill Baker.
Anybody else?
You learned.
Okay.
Hey guys, I'm Kurt, and I'm actually, I guess, a friend of Bill's through a friend, Tim.
Another brother.
Tim Baker, little brother Tim, was my homeboy. We were growing up in high school, so I met Bill about 30 years ago, and long before Bend, long before Arizona. And to be honest, I always thought the dude was a little weird. Yeah, he was kind of a strange bird. So he knew all the lyrics to all the songs, and in like music that I was not really cool with, like the Smiths. It was a little too sensitive for me, right? Like I wanted to play football and lift weights and be a big stud, and Tim and I were hanging out and drinking beers, and Bill was always, "Isn't this song amazing? Don't you like the way and I was like, what? And so, anyway, so long story short, I came out here to Bend the first time a couple years ago in the summer, and Bill really introduced Bend to me, and I got here, I think the day he got his diagnosis, and so I didn't know coming out that was what was in store, but I remember being out here with Bill, and he showed me the bees and the fruit and you know, we hung out. The Bakers have always been my surrogate family, and Sue and the family too. So just loved it, and he, you know, he's always saying, "Isn't this amazing? Isn't this amazing?" I remember we went on a hike in the I don't remember where we were, but out by the river, we were hiking, and all of us went together, yeah, on this hike, and we're walking along, and Bill's saying, "This is amazing, it's so beautiful," and I'm like, "Yeah, Bill, it's nice, but I really want to, I kind of want to walk a little faster, maybe I'll get a run in, I got to get some exercise, I'm kind of," and so I did. At the turning point, we turned around and I ran back to the starting point. And so I'm sitting there, and the group comes in, and Bill's like, "It's great, it's amazing, it's so great you're here." And it didn't really sink in to me until recently. And thinking about Bill, and ever from 30 years ago and from this past summer, every time I saw him, every experience, it was amazing, and it was great, and it was wonderful. And it wasn't just he was living because of cancer, that was his life. And so part of what I'm going to take with me from Bill is, it is amazing right now what we're doing. It's amazing that we're all here. It's amazing that all these people are here, brought together because of Bill, and we're going to have him in our life for the rest of our lives. So cheers to that. Thank you.
Took it a while to get here. When you get to be almost 80, move slower. I'm a more recent friend of Bill's. I met him, 3 years ago or so. I walk 3 days. I play golf 3 days a week, and then I walk the rest. And Bill is down there, and I met Bill and Bailey. And Bailey let me beat her, and I know dogs pretty well, and so I scratched her butt. Dogs love their butt scratched. That's the one spot in their body they can't reach. And so it got to where every time I run into Bill down there, which was every time that I went down, Big did out this, whoop, and she'd charge over to me and turn her butt to me. And so I have added to my family. I've got Bill, Sue, and Bailey, and they are part of my family.
It's in a twisted way that I stand here. Bill, I worked with him at Central Oregon, and then when we moved to Partners, or merged to Partners in Care, and he and I tried to do an ethics committee, I think twice, and he proceeded on the third run. He, as many have mentioned, he made everyone feel special. I felt a deep kinship with Bill, and he was always so generous to so many people, giving out music and giving out and connecting people to different things and trying to connect on different topics. And when I shared my grief and really went through a lot of grief a year or so ago, someone described him as a Renaissance man. And my life and the way I've seen my life has been so much smaller than how he saw life, and the gift of his generosity and his love for so many different areas really moved me. So I came up just considering one specific story. Randall, wherever he went to, used to build fences, and I didn't learn to learn when I was a kid, and so I think I really resonated. I work with hospice too, and I'm a social worker, and I really resonated with, I'm not afraid to die, I have had more fear to live. And he embraced both. My children, one of them decided to have, really wanted chickens. And I can resonate with that piece of not knowing how to use any tool. And I just chose to figure out how to build a chicken run for my daughter. And I built it with Randall's input, and I built it with some of Bill's input. And Bill was like, aren't you gonna research this? Aren't you gonna he gets books, and he showed me how he was gonna do a chicken run, and it was gonna be a temple, and it was gonna be all this wonderful stuff. And I already had the chickens. And there's no forethought. It was, okay, here it is, now we're gonna do it. And 4 years later, the chicken run's still standing, and it's sturdy, and raccoons can't get in, and coyotes can't get in. So I learned a lot about life through him, and I celebrated him. I didn't always know how to bridge a certain gap with him. But I loved him very dearly, and I learned a lot even in his leaving the work. and I don't know, the gift of his humanity and its breath. And I will always love you, Bill. Thank you.
The others might be better shared in private. I love Bill. He could make me laugh. And his humor just touched me in such a deep way. I remember, you know, we work with some people that are not all that pleasant when they're dying. And Bill had a 92-year-old, and she was not that pleasant. She ended up firing Bill because he mentioned that she might die. She didn't believe it. So she fired Bill, and she ended up coming into hospice house. And so I had a chance to work with this lady, and she said, "Do you know Bill Baker?" I said, "Yeah, I know. I'll work with him." She said, "You know, if you see him, tell him if he's man enough to come talk to me again, I want to talk to him." So I found Bill. I told him, I said, "You know, this lady's wanting to talk to you again." He says, "Oh, great, I'm being heckled by a 92-year-old. Bill had this deep, compassionate side about him, and he could see through a lot of BS. I remember I was sitting at the desk up at the front one time. Bill had his bag over his shoulder. He was heading out. I could tell he was probably late for a visit. And he asked me, "Hey, Randall, how you doing?" And I said yes, but the yes was weak. I said, "Yes, I'm doing well." And Bill stopped at the door, turned around, walked back in to our building, and set his bag down and said, "Now, what's really going on?" That is Bill. That is so Bill. I had a chance to work with Bill in a chaplain role too. Like Bill said, he said, "You're going to be my chaplain. I know it's going to be kind of weird, but we'll make it." So we had this strange way we worked it out, where I'm a friend, but yet I'm a chaplain. And so I'm over at Bill's house, and you know, I'm being all compassionate and gentle with him and hearing his story. And he says, "Oh, I have to go to the bathroom." So he gets his walker out. He starts to the bathroom. I said, "Bill, can I help you?" And right then, I just realized what I said to Bill Baker. He looked at me, and I looked at him, and I went, "Oh, you got me, you got me." He didn't even have to say anything. But that was so Bill. We love Bill. I'd like to close today with a blessing. I know Bill, he has this Irish blood in his veins, so it's going to be part of this Irish tradition, this blessing. And we offer this to Bill. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind always be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, and the rains fall soft upon your fields. May love and laughter light your days. May peace and plenty bless your world. May your good and faithful friends remain. When we meet again, we shall smile. For this life and this passing was made well. Until we meet again, Bill. Bless you. Drinks.